Welcome back to Carlton for Life. My name's Carlton, and I'm here to educate you on how to use life insurance to build, preserve, and pass on wealth. Now, if you've been online looking into using life insurance to build wealth, then I'm sure your algorithm is full of all kind of life insurance videos. And I'm sure you probably come across a video with some financial advisor telling you that whole life insurance is a scam. This can get confusing, right? You see some videos saying it's the best thing ever, you should be using it, using your cash value to borrow from, buy assets. Then you're seeing other people going hard saying that whole life insurance is a scam and you should never buy it. Today, at the end of this video, you should be able to make a knowledgeable decision on whether or not whole life insurance is a scam and whether or not it should be a part of your wealth building strategy. Is whole life insurance a scam? Let's get into it. Okay, first things first. Before we can talk about whether or not whole life insurance is a scam, we have to talk about what whole life insurance is. It's important to understand exactly what whole life insurance is. You'd be surprised when I do policy reviews with people, just going over the policies that they have, the people that don't even know that they don't have a whole life insurance policy. So let's quickly talk about what a whole life insurance policy is. A whole life insurance policy is a specific type of permanent life insurance, right? You got term life insurance. It's temporary life insurance, only good for the duration of the time, right? So if you have a 10-year term life insurance policy, then after 10 years, the policy expires and you no longer have life insurance, right? Permanent life insurance policies are life insurance policies that are designed to last through the duration of your life. The confusion is that if people don't have a term life insurance policy, they automatically think that their permanent life insurance is a whole life insurance policy, right? Not so. You can have a permanent life insurance policy, but it doesn't mean it's a whole life insurance policy. There are different types of permanent life insurance policies. You've got universal life, you've got index universal life, you've got variable universal life. A lot of policies I've reviewed, people have, let's say, a VUL, a variable universal life, and they thought they had a whole life insurance policy. It's two different things, and it's important to understand what you have because it does make a difference, right? Today, we are talking about whole life insurance. We're not talking about any kind of universal permanent life insurance policy. We're discussing whether or not whole life insurance is a scam. Now that we cleared that up and we understand what whole life insurance is, let's get into why financial advisors would be calling it a scam, right? Whole life insurance is more expensive than term insurance. Why? Because whole life insurance, as long as you pay your premium every month, when you die, not if you die, when you die, you will receive that death benefit, right? It's a guarantee. It's one of the guarantees of your whole life insurance policy. You pay your premium. When you die, your loved ones will receive a death benefit. So it's more expensive than a term policy that basically says for the duration of this policy, whether the term be 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, you will be covered. If you outlive the policy will expire. You will no longer have insurance. Whole life insurance is more expensive. Financial advisors say that whole life insurance is so expensive, it's not worth the cost, right? You have financial advisors out there that are trained and believe that the financial decision people should be making is to buy a term policy that will cover you and your family for an inexpensive price. Let's say you get a 30-year term policy. If you're young or middle-aged and healthy, that 30-year term policy should be inexpensive, right? It can cover you for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of protection for your family. You can use the extra money that the whole life insurance policy would have cost you on investments, let's say a mutual fund or something like that. And over the course of the 30 years that you had your term policy, all of that money you will have invested in, let's say, a mutual fund, will build up in a way that by the time your term policy expires, your other investments that you've put money into for the over the course of the 30, pardon me, for over the course of the 30 years that you had that term policy, you should have a lot of money. And essentially, you could be self-insured, right? Your term policy will expire after 30 years, but that mutual fund that you've been putting money in should be it should have so many profits that you and your family should be fine. That's their thinking. That's what they believe, right? And if that is what you believe, then that's great, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that idea, right? Let me give you a quick example with some numbers, and these are just arbitrary random numbers, right? But let's say that a 30-year-old wants to get some life insurance and also wants to invest, right? They speak to a financial advisor. The financial advisor tells them, listen, you can get $1 million of term life insurance for 30 years for $150 a month, right? If you were to get a whole life policy for $1 million, it would cost you hundreds of dollars, right? Let's just say $1 million for a 30-year-old would be $500 a month, right? So what the financial advisor would say is, get the term policy for 30 years for $150. Instead of spending an extra $350 on whole life insurance, take that $350 and put it into a mutual fund. And over the course of the next 30 years, that $350 could make you millions of dollars, right? Essentially, the market does well over the course of 30 years. Your policy will expire by the time you're 60, but that mutual fund should have some good money in it, so it doesn't matter that you don't have the life insurance anymore. This is where financial advisors start to use the word scam when it comes to whole life. They believe so strongly that this is the model people should be using that they think any agent or financial professional that would suggest that someone go buy whole life insurance instead of just getting term and investing the difference, they think that it's a scam, right? They think that their way is so correct that anything else would be a scam. They think that the life insurance agent is trying to get people to get the whole life so that they can get a bigger commission, and they are ill-advising their clients when they tell them they should be getting whole life insurance. So when they meet people that let's say somebody went and bought a $500,000 whole life insurance policy, and let's say they're spending $400 a month on it, that financial advisor will be like, yo, you guys scammed, man. That's a scam, right? Because you're not going to build up that much cash value in that policy. You could have put that money somewhere and made way more money in capital gains if you would have put it in a mutual fund. You are wasting money by putting in that whole life insurance policy. And this is the part that I feel like people need to understand to decide whether or not it's for them, whether or not they should be getting a whole life insurance policy, or whether or not they should just be buying term and investing the difference. The question that they need to answer is, why are they buying the whole life insurance policy? And I think this idea is best illustrated when you see, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there are people online that will talk to a client and they'll get them to call their carrier, right? Let's say they found a client with a whole life insurance policy, and they're like, your whole life insurance policy isn't doing what you think it's doing. It's a scam. You should have never got it. Let's call your carrier and ask them how much cash value you have to borrow from. How much do you have available to borrow from? Now, sometimes these people have been paying these policies for 7, 10 years, right? Let's say if they've been paying their policy for 10 years, let's say if they have a policy that they've been paying $300 a month into, right, for 10 years. At this point, they have put a lot of money into this policy, right? If they call the carrier and say, hey, how much money do I have available, right? They have this online if you've seen the videos. And the carrier will give them a number that's way below what that person might have thought they would have in cash value. And relative to how much they put in there, they're thinking, wow, I don't have anywhere near the money I put in there. I don't have access to anywhere near what I put in there, right? So, for instance, let's say somebody had put $50,000 into a policy over 10 years, just to use a random number, right? Let's say somebody put $50,000 into a policy over the course of 10 years, paying premiums every month. And let's say they go check the policy, and let's say the policy says, hey, you only have $10,000 you can borrow some. Let's just say, right? The financial professional would say, look, see, you've been scammed. You only got $10,000 in this whole life insurance policy. You've put $50,000 into there. You could have been putting that money into a mutual fund and have way more money. And unfortunately, that person probably feels like, damn, yeah, I did get scammed. I should have never got this whole life insurance policy. But here's what's really happening. That person would have to think back to when they got that whole life insurance policy. I would hope that the agent they spoke to talked about a budget for what they could afford for life insurance and talked about how much life insurance they needed, right? In that moment, since they have the policy, I'm sure it all made sense to them. Because most times when we're going to get life insurance, we think about how much we would want our loved ones to have if something should happen to us, and we think about whether or not it's in our budget. What's happening is, in this day and age with social media and so many financial gurus online and so many people talking about different ways to get money and use money, that person who got that life insurance policy 10 years ago, when they got it, they were probably happy with it. They were happy with the insurance amount, and they were content with the monthly payment. Since then, they've been seeing videos online where people are talking about use your cash value to buy assets, get a life insurance policy so you can build the cash value quickly, right? So in their mind, they're like, oh yeah, I got a life insurance policy 10 years ago. I've already done this. I have that. But the truth is, depending on how the policy was designed, the cash value is not going to grow as fast. And most agents, honestly, they don't design the policy in a way for cash value to grow super quickly, right? They're not designing it in a way where when you pay your premium, some of that premium goes straight to your cash value and some of it goes to the cost of insurance. They may have just got you a policy that the premium pays for the insurance, right? If you went to your life insurance agent and discussed life insurance and said, hey, I want $250,000 of whole life insurance for me and my family, the life insurance agent is going to quote you for a $250,000 whole life insurance policy. Let's say that policy costs you $300 a month. That $300 will go to the cost of whole life insurance. $250,000 of whole life insurance that the company will have to pay you, guaranteed no matter what, as long as you pay your premium every month, is expensive. So 10 years later, when this financial advisor is telling you to call your carrier and they're telling you you don't have as much in cash value as you thought, it's because when you got your policy, you weren't talking to your agent about quickly building cash value. You weren't talking to your agent about designing it in a way that in 10 years from now, you'll have a certain amount of money in cash value, right? Because maybe back then you didn't even know about the things you're seeing online right now. Now, the financial advisors are upsetting the client by telling them they've been scammed, right? Because they're like, listen, look at your cash value. You got scammed. When the truth is, they didn't get scammed. They got a whole life insurance policy. And I would hope that when they got that whole life insurance policy, they were happy with the policy they got. And if it is a true whole life insurance policy, then guess what? You have and if you got it from a mutual whole life insurance company, then these companies have been around for over 100 years. They're solid. And you know what? If something happens to you, your family will receive that death benefit. And most likely, when you were looking to get whole life insurance, that's what you cared about. And I think that's the big difference. If you want a whole life insurance policy, then you need an agent that is going to provide that whole life insurance policy for you. If you want a whole life insurance policy that builds cash value quickly because you want to leverage that cash value in the next 20 years, then you need a life insurance agent that understands how to do that. So I think the big takeaway here is Whole life insurance is not a scam unless the agent you worked with lied to you and told you, hey, in 10 years, you're going to have X amount in cash value, right? In 10 years, you're going to, if they told you that you would have more than what was possible, if they lied to you, if you had a conversation with that agent about using your cash value in the future and having enough in there to buy real estate or something like that, and they went along with that, then in that case, I would say to an extent you did probably get scammed, right? Because you weren't told the whole truth about the way cash value builds. But I'll say this. Most times when you get a life insurance policy, a part of the application process is the illustration. The illustration you usually have to sign before the application can be submitted, right? So if you go through your paperwork, you most likely signed an illustration that shows you how your cash value would have grown over time. So most times the agent really can't lie, and they usually wouldn't lie about that, right? Because it's in the paperwork. They can show you how your cash value grows over time. And when you are submitting the application, that's the time to have the conversation about how much cash value you'll have in 10 years, so you're not surprised by it. I think 10 years ago, people had less information about whether or not they could use life insurance to build up the cash value quickly, right? So I think the people that these financial advisors are getting online and calling their carriers, and then when they are disappointed by the cash value that they have, I think that it's not the full picture, right? It's not the full picture because people are expecting to have the cash value available that a properly designed policy would have. And if they got their policy 10 years ago and really just went in for some whole life insurance because that's what they were looking for at the time, then they can't expect to have so much money in cash value, right? You have to design it properly. So, is whole life insurance a scam? No. It depends on exactly what you're trying to do. And depending on what you're trying to do, you have to find an agent that can properly design it, and your cash value in 10 years will be what you want it to be, and you will not be disappointed when you hear the numbers. Again, financial advisors are calling whole life insurance a scam. Honestly, if we're being brutally honest, it's because they're biased. They truly believe that people should not spend their money on whole life insurance, that people should get term insurance, take the rest of their money and invest it in a mutual fund or something like that because they will get better returns. If your life insurance agent ever told you that your whole life insurance policy had the potential to make the gains that a mutual fund could, then yes, you are being scammed. Whole life insurance is never going to grow the way a mutual fund would. So, if your intentions is to get the best return on investment on your money, if that's what you're looking for, then absolutely. You should listen to that financial advisor. You should buy term insurance, take the rest of your money and put it in a mutual fund, because if you want to invest that way, then that's where you should be. Buying whole life insurance, designing the policy properly for cash value growth is something completely different. If you are looking for compound interest on your money, if you are looking for tax-free access to your money, no questions asked through the form of a loan, if you are looking for somewhere to put your money that even after you access it, you have the ability to still gain compound interest because you borrowed from the life insurance company, if you are looking for some form of asset protection, if you don't want market volatility, if you don't want your money somewhere that when the market crashes, your cash value is going to fluctuate with the market, if you are looking for something like that, then you could use whole life insurance, right? For example, let's say you're a real estate investor and you're looking for somewhere to put your money. You want it to gain compound interest. You want access to it with no questions asked. You don't have to go through a loan process. It doesn't have to be on your credit. And you want to put it somewhere safe, right? You don't want no market volatility, because when that next real estate deal comes, if the market is crashing, what are you going to do, right? You're not going to be able to pull your money out because your account will be down. So maybe you want to put it in a life insurance policy so that it will keep gaining compound interest. It'll make, if it's a mutual company, you can earn dividends on your cash value. For this person, whole life insurance does make sense for them. And I think that's where financial advisors online kind of get it mixed up. They are so, if anybody ever tells you that you should be doing something this way and you absolutely should be doing it, not be doing it the other way, then I would always be cautious, right? That person is usually biased. And when someone is biased, I don't think they see clearly all the options available for you. I think they start to tell you what's best for you, right? I've seen people come into talking to a financial advisor and say, "Hey, I don't want any market volatility. I just want access to my money. I want to gain compound interest." And that person will tell them, "Well, over the course of 30 years, over the stock market will be able to do this, and in life insurance, you can't make these kind of returns, and it's a waste of your money, and you should put it." They're not even listening to what the client wants or what the client is looking for. They are so biased in their opinion that they should buy term and invest the difference, that they will call whole life insurance a scam no matter what that client may be telling them. So, is whole life insurance a scam? It's not. It depends on what your financial goals are. What are you trying to accomplish? If anyone ever told you that whole life insurance was the best return on investment for your cash, then yes, you've been scammed. Most agents will never say that, because most agents understand that whole life insurance is, it's not only that it's not an investment, but professionally speaking, you can't even say that. Whole life insurance is not an investment. It's whole life insurance. It's what you can do with the cash value in your whole life insurance that's special, right? If this information was useful to you, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I am here to give unbiased, factual-based information about using whole life insurance to build wealth. Too many times people are online giving their biased opinions, and it's taken away from the ability of people who truly could use life insurance in their wealth building strategy and should be using it, because you have people out there calling whole life insurance a scam. My name's Carlton. This is Carlton for Life. Thanks for listening.